Hello, welcome to the instruction video, Tariff Proof Your Business. My name is Igor Chigrin, and within the next 20 to 30 minutes, I will talk to you about diversifying your export and supply chain. A couple of words about Win Global to get started. We are an export and import consulting firm. We've been operating since 2009, and our mandate is to help Canadian businesses enter new export markets and strengthen their supply chain by diversifying. My background is in international trade. I'm a certified international trade professional and a member of the Forum for International Trade Training. I have a master's degree in international business and over 6 years I've been with the Canadian manufacturers and exporters and 4 years with the Business Development Bank of Canada as a senior advisor in international expansion. And my mandate has always been helping Canadian businesses to expand internationally or strengthen their supply chain, diversify their supply chain. And my experience shows that these solutions are not necessarily for large multi-million dollar companies. They are also perfectly fine and perfectly work for small, mid-sized, and large Canadian businesses. This video is for you if you are a business owner or executive who realizes that you need to diversify your export markets or supply chains, but you don't have any idea where to start from. In fact, the problem of Canadian businesses to being too dependent on the United States didn't start yesterday or a few days ago when Trump uh, started his second term. It dated back to decades, and I understand why it's the case because US is the closest market, it's the same language, same culture, legislation in many cases the same. But still, in order to operate the sustainable business model, you need to diversify, you need to have other export markets. And so this video is really great for you if you are that business owner or executive who understands you need to diversify, but you don't necessarily know where to start and how to get there. And we will show you those tools that you need to take. It's also great for you if you don't want to lose your customers, your suppliers, or your entire business to tariff wars. And last but not least, if you are here on behalf of your clients or partners who are in that situation, and feel free to share this video instruction with them. You will learn what steps to take and data to collect in order to develop your international business diversification strategy. You will learn how to identify new export markets for your product or new markets to supply your product from, and how to find contacts of legitimate buyers or suppliers outside Canada. You may have noticed that the internet is full of contacts, full of people who want to do business with you, but they are not necessarily the right and legitimate contacts. So let's start with diversifying your supply chain. To get started, first of all, you need to identify top three supplies. That means top three products, parts, or materials that you supply. And then you determine your annual demand in those supplies. Next, you determine your current countries of origin of those products, parts, or materials, and you talk to your existing suppliers. You determine the duties for those supplies in Canada, and then you use the tools that I'm going to show you later in this presentation to identify top 5 countries of origin of those products, materials, or parts that you supply. You then use this information to calculate estimated unit price and then assess feasibility of alternative sourcing because it's a great idea to diversify and not to depend on a single market for a supply, but still it has to make economic sense. It has to be feasible. So then based on that information, you make a strategic decision of whether or not you proceed with diversification, and then you outline your next steps, i.e. The suppliers that you will contact and request the quotes for these parts, products, or materials. The approach to the export market diversification is almost the same, but you always start with defining your global value proposition. That means you find that differentiation in your product that will help you compete on the global scale. You will also profile your ideal foreign buyer select the right export product, select the right select the right product for your export. Sorry. Then you determine your current export markets. You determine the duties that the foreign buyers pay for your products in the foreign markets, because this directly impacts your competitiveness in those markets. And then using the tool that again I'm going to show you, you identify top 5 new export markets for your product. You calculate the estimated unit price and then determine the feasibility of developing new international markets, and then take it from there, make a decision. If the decision is to move forward with the expansion, then you outline the next steps. We spoke briefly about the global value proposition, but I just wanted to highlight what it is. It's basically the reason why your clients will buy from you versus their competitors. And when you compete on the global scale, it means not only your competitors in Canada, but also your competitors in the foreign markets, your global competitors, etc. So the competitive landscape internationally is much greater. Your global value proposition also could be your product advantages or unique needs that your product addresses. Also, in some cases, you may provide a better guarantee or after sales support, and that could be your value proposition. That could be your differentiation, and also it could be the speed of delivery, right? Maybe you make a critical product that must be delivered sooner than later and faster than your competitors. When it comes to the profiling of your ideal client or your ideal supplier, it's not so much different as the domestic one, except for the fact that it's an international scale, so the geography of your target client will be somewhere else, outside Canada. Maybe it will be a particular region, particular country, particular state, but the rest should not really be different from your domestic supplier or domestic buyer. When it comes to selecting products to export, you first of all look into your products that have greater margins, because expanding internationally is costly, and that's why you focus on the product that has a greater margin. You also focus on the product that is adaptable, because there may be compliance requirements to your products elsewhere, outside Canada. There may be different client expectations, client preferences, and then you need to pick that product that is easily adaptable, can be easily changed or altered. Obviously, you focus on the product that has certain benefits or address certain specific need of your target market. And then you pick that product that has established operations such as production service, after sales service, and quality assurance. It's much easier to expand with an existing product versus the completely new product. Now I'm going to show you the tools that can help you to determine which markets to target or which markets to supply from. There are a few things here. The first tool is a tool that can help you to determine the HS code. So the HS code determination is crucial for you to understand the trade flows internationally and get the ideas of what other export markets are out there or other markets to supply the product from. HS code is basically a numerical representation of the nature of the product. Here, for example, frozen veal is 0202101010. Now, the good thing about the HS code is that the first 6 digits of the HS code are universal around the world. So you utilize the first 6 digits to look into the tariffs and look into the trade flows. So there are two tools, two databases, one Canadian, one international, that can help you to determine where else to export to or where else to import from. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on this link and we will be directed to the Comtrade website. So it has an interface like this. First of all, I don't suggest you change anything here in the first section. The second section is what you are looking for. And let's assume that you are in the business of, say, making bumpers. You make bumpers in Canada, and then you most likely export most of your product to the United States. But now you want to get an idea where else you could export your bumpers. So here in this field called HS, we are going to remove what was here, and we just start typing bumpers. No, that's not bumper, that's bumper. Here we go. and it automatically pulls the HS code. As you can see, it's 6 digits, not 10 digits. Now then, in the reporters field here, you remove all and you select Canada. Just type it, it's easier. Then in the partner section, you remove world and you type all or select all. And then depending on what you're looking for, you either remove export or import. So let's remove import for now and only look into the export flow. So then what you need to do is you need to enter this code that is changing all the time. So bear with me. And then you hit preview. Okay, and now in the bottom of this page, we see the table that looks like this. So first thing that we need to do is we need to sort it a little bit. I recommend sorting it by trade value column right here. And we are sorting it from the largest number to the smallest number. And so this is how you interpret this data. So you see that the entire export of bumpers to all countries was about 350 billion. And then most of it went to the United States. That's the second line, which is not a surprise. But then over a million went to Mexico. And then this is where it gets interesting. So look, the other markets for Canadian-made bumpers are Belgium, Australia, United Arab Emirates, Finland, Korea, Germany, Brazil, Israel, Poland, New Zealand, etc. So you get it. This tool will give you an idea of where else your product is exported, and then if somebody exports this to Mexico or to Belgium or to Australia, then there's market. And yeah, maybe it's not a big market, but again, depending on your appetites, maybe 600,000 is not bad for your business to diversify. And then similarly, if you are importing bumpers, let's say what you do is you remove export from here and you select import here, you hit preview, and same thing, you first of all sort it by trade value. And obviously, yeah, lots of bumpers are imported from the United States, but then there's quite significant supply from Asian countries. So other Asia means other countries in Asia other than those that are listed here. So other than China, Japan, Korea, but then from Japan, Korea, and China, uh, there's there's quite a lot of there's quite a lot of import. So if you are looking to diversify your supply chain and move away from dependency on the United States, which will always be your second line, or at least in most cases it will be your second line, then you look here and then you see from where else you can source your product. It's not surprising if it's Mexico and China, but again, for each product it's different. So for your product, your markets may not exactly look the same. All right, so let's continue. The next thing you need to determine is what are the tariffs or customs duties in either in Canada if you are importing or in the other countries if you are exporting. These are the tools that you can utilize to find the tariffs. We're not going to go through them right now, but you also, to navigate them, you also use the same HS code for your product, and all the tariffs or customs duties are based on the HS code. So there's no universal tariff or universal duty. Now let's talk about finding legitimate buyers or suppliers, because at that point, when you made a decision to diversify, you probably ask yourself, how can I find those legitimate contacts that wouldn't turn me down? And so the first source for the legitimate contacts are the bilateral chambers of commerce. Bilateral chambers of commerce are not-profit organizations whose mandate is to improve bilateral trade, increase bilateral trade. The example of such an organization is the Canada-China Business Council. And literally every country, every major economic union has this bilateral chamber with Canada. For example, there's Canada-EU Chamber of Commerce, Canada-UK Chamber, etc., etc., etc. Literally every major market has one with Canada. So again, the mandate of those organizations is to promote trade, so they're not biased on whether you import or export, but usually the members of those associations, organizations are the reputable suppliers, manufacturers. You can ask for the contacts of the potential buyers or suppliers from these chambers. Uh, Sometimes you have to be a member, but it, maybe it's worth a while to explore the membership in those chambers. Next thing you do is you contact the industry association of your suppliers or your buyers in the foreign market. So, for example, if you are in aerospace, there are aerospace associations, and actually many of those associations in every major market. So you contact those associations. You might become a member, but then through networking, through working with the association employees, you will get the list of your suppliers or buyers. The third item here is actually the word of mouth. So don't underestimate your buyers, existing buyers or suppliers. They can lead you to other buyers or suppliers, and it's not uncommon in the world of international trade, where a lot actually depends on uh, connections, relationships. So it's not just about cold calling or giving, sending your price list to random people. Um, so these are the ways how you can get warm introductions to whether suppliers or buyers. Then, if you're a Canadian exporter, use Canadian Trade Commissioner Service. It's part of the Global Affairs Canada, and Canadian Trade Commissioners are located outside Canada, so they're physically present in the markets and in different markets. And if you're looking, for example, for a client in Japan, you contact Canadian Trade Commission in Japan, and then after a few discussions, they could get you a few names that you may follow up. And then the good thing is that because they are on the ground, they constantly grow their business network, and they only have legitimate verified contacts, so they don't deal with you know people like scammers or some kind of people like that. Also, many provinces and territories in Canada have either the ministries of economic development and or international trade, so they have also physical representations. Their trade commissioners, provincial trade commissioners, are present in many countries and regions around the world. So if you're if such a ministry exists in your province, then you can also get in touch with them. Next source of information is foreign trade commissioners or promotional organization or consulates. This only applicable is if you are looking to diversify supply chain, if you are importing the goods into Canada. These organizations, they promote local manufacturers and exporters. So if you are looking to supply, if you're looking for supplies from legitimate contacts, then these organizations are the right for you. And only if you failed to find the good contacts through anything of the above, then you go to trade directories, you go to LinkedIn, to social media, to internet resources. But in 99% of the cases, you should be able to find legitimate contacts using one of the above uh, sources. Now, I wanted to also demonstrate and highlight to you that the international expansion and supply chain diversification is not only for large multi-million dollar corporations. It's also for small to mid-sized businesses like Hudson Boat Works and Enersol. So these are small mid-sized companies located. One of them located in Ontario, the other one is in Alberta, but they nailed it. So they utilized a step-by-step approach, some funding, and the advantages of the Canadian Free Trade Agreements to enter the new market. So one of them succeeded in the European market, the other one, Enersol, in the Asian markets, including even those that where Canada doesn't have trade agreements with, for example, Pakistan. Right, Canada does not have a free trade agreement with this country, yet. Yet this company Enersol was able to enter this market. So before we conclude, I wanted to actually quote Mr. Trump. After all, he's a great businessman. And he said, "What separates the winners from the losers is how a person reacts to each new twist of fate." So I hope that you are on a winner side and that you understand that diversification of your supply chain and export markets is really important. And you know, Mr. Trump comes and goes, but your business stays. And to make sure that your business is not vulnerable to any shakes in the global politics or economy, diversify your export markets and diversify your supply chains. And if you're interested to talk about your diversification strategy, uh, give me a call or send me an email. We'll schedule discovery consultations. It's free of charge. We will look into your current export markets and your current markets, countries where you supply your products or materials from. And then we'll see if it makes sense for you to diversify. Hopefully it will be, but in any case, I welcome the conversation. I would be glad to share my experience and advice with you. So hopefully you won't be a victim of the trade wars, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.